Miracles and Me by yours truly, Vincent Ryan Borres. Chapter 1. The First Miracle. The very first miracle is myself. Being born in this world is the greatest miracle that any one of us can experience. My mom and dad and my relatives are all witnesses to this miracle. I was 8 pounds and 3 ounces, 25 centimeters in length, fair skin and pinkish skin tone. A few hours or almost a day after I was born, my mom noticed that I couldn't swallow or tolerate milk. I regurgitate or vomit each time I was being fed. So, after 3 days of the same ordeal, the medical team did a much in-depth examination as to why this was happening. The doctor let me ingest a pill and did an x-ray to locate where the pill stopped. And that's when I was diagnosed with congenital intestinal obstruction, which in my case was called congenital band. On the 4th day, my family was informed of my situation, the possible treatment as well as my prognosis, which was 0% survival rate. This was because of my age and being in a small province in the Philippines during the late 70s. However, my parents as well as my grandparents, uncles and aunties agreed that they would push through with the planned surgery. Everyone in the family helped financially, emotionally, and spiritually. I was 5 days old when the operation was completed. On the day of my surgery, there was another child undergoing a different operation and has got 80% survival rate. So, it was the doctor's priority. Sadly, that child didn't make it. Out of the doctor's frustration, he proceeded with my surgery even though I had 0% survival rate. And that's when the miracle happened. The operation was a success. They managed to remove the intestinal band and the obstruction was repaired. I stayed in the hospital for 29 days. My mom also stayed whilst I was in the hospital, and the whole time my mom kept praying for me in her room, and my dad, even though he was out of the hospital, continued to pray as well for me and never stopped visiting. Being in the hospital for quite a while, there are lots of stories that my mom and dad experienced. It's because I think people in my hometown are very superstitious. My dad told me that there's a cat that knocks on the door in my hospital room. My dad was so sure it was the cat because each time he opens the door, there's nobody around except for that particular black cat that would enter our room. Sometimes, my dad would see that black cat by the window staring at me. At one point, when my dad was so annoyed, he took a broomstick and then, when someone was knocking at the door, he assumed it was the cat. So he opened the door and was ready to hit the cat, but it was the meal lady bringing food. The meal lady was shocked and he threw the food up in the air. My dad kept apologizing. And then, next minute, he saw the cat was again in the room. My mom had different experiences or stories. Because she was the one mostly left with me in the hospital, she would hear strange noises, probably from pipes or from walls and ceilings that are squeaking or odd noises. She was scared already because of the thought of being in the hospital, the anxiety and the anticipation that something might turn up or occur that builds up. So, one time she forgot to turn the tap off because during those times the hospital water is like being rationed. So it stopped and no water was coming out of the sink. But eventually, when she was hearing some strange noises, it was actually from the pipes and that the water was coming through. It bursted abruptly and loudly in the tap. My mom panicked and got so scared. She ran away and left me in the room and rushed to the nurse's station. Then, she suddenly remembered that she left me all alone in the room. She was shaking in fear, but at the same time smiling because it was so funny that she got scared and left her baby. These are some of the scary, funny stories that they used to tell me about my stay in the hospital. To cut the story short, I recovered from the surgery and was discharged from the hospital. But my mom said when I was discharged from the hospital, I was very thin and she was scared to carry me because it felt like I'm too small that I might slide off her arms when she carries me. As how we paid the hospital bill, it was a miracle as well because lots of good-hearted relatives shared blessings to us and we called them our angels. They all helped us through prayers, emotional support, as well as financial support to get us through that time.